Hi, we are MU Value Team giving our quarter-end presentation for the CQA Challenge. I'm Michael Vidic, a senior in the Accounting and Finance Department at Marquette University.
I'm Patrick Thiel. I'm also a senior in the Finance Department at Marquette University.
I'm Alex Penkwitz. I am a junior studying Finance and Accounting at Marquette.
I'm Edward Eisenhower, a junior at Marquette studying Finance and Information Systems.
So with that, I'd like to begin by describing our investment policy, our investment process, and just basically what went into the challenge altogether. We began the challenge by creating a sort of screening process and evaluating the market at the current time. This is back in, let's say, September. We looked at the financials industries, looked across sectors, and basically looked at valuations to determine which areas we thought were the most investable. And as part of this, we created a variety of screening processes, many of which included finding correlation studies and regression studies to find which ratios we thought were the most appropriate to use. And as part of that, we include these into a screening processes, which Alex and Patrick will talk about in just a second. But once we found the correct criteria, we used them and then ranked the stocks in the Russell 1000 to find the 40 long stocks we thought were the most likely to succeed, and then the 40 stocks we were the most bearish on. And then with that, I'd like to pass it off to Patrick to describe our first screening process.
In the first screen, we decided to long 40 stocks with high free cash flow as a percent of revenue and with debt to equity ratios under 40%. This gave us an array of non-cyclical sectors such as technology, financials, consumer staples, and utilities. They all have low leverage, and we decided to take 40, the top 40, and long them. We shorted stocks with high PEG ratios, which means that their price is earning much faster than their earnings growth. We knew that they would favor the consumer staples sector and the utility sector, so we excluded it from our screen.
As Michael said earlier in the presentation, about halfway through our competition, we decided to do a second screen to make adjustments to our portfolio. And halfway through, we did a long screen, which consisted of a high free cash flow ratio, a PEG ratio less than 1, which Patrick mentioned earlier, which means that basically their price is growing less than their earnings are. And then we wanted to also do an ROE of greater than 10%, which basically means that the returning on equity is pretty high. And then we wanted to look at the return since December 24th, and we wanted that to be greater than 10% because that was about halfway through our competition, and we wanted to make adjustments based off of how the historical performance of these stocks were. We wanted to make sure that we were composing our long stock portfolio with stocks that historically performed well. And in our short screen, we did ROE of less than 5%. We just wanted to make sure that we were shorting stocks that weren't exactly returning high on equity. And then we wanted to also continue our to short stocks with a high PEG ratio. So we kept that at about 5%. And then we wanted to look at the price change of the stocks in the last 12 months, and we wanted to make sure that we were shorting stocks that had a negative 5% or greater return on their stock. And with that, I would like to hand it off to Ed to talk about our portfolio performance.
For the portfolio performance, I'm just going to go over a few results. Our Sharpe ratio is negative 0.32. The third best alpha in the competition at 4.32. A neutral beta of negative 0.04, and a return of negative 0.49%. For our sector distribution, basic materials was 9.6%, financials at 28.7%, utilities at 3%, consumer goods at 8%, healthcare at 10.7%, services at 13.4%, technology at 14.2%, and industrial goods at 10.6%. Our financials at 28.7% heavily underperformed and are responsible for our low portfolio return of negative 0.49%.
And with that, we'd like to conclude our presentation. We really enjoyed the challenge, and we really appreciate the opportunity to engage in something like this. It's a really new endeavor for us. We didn't really do backtesting prior to this experience. It just kind of exposed us to a much bigger part of the finance industry than we previously had been able to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.